The next steps are the polygraph examination and the psychological screening. Let's talk about polygraph. Polygraph is easy to pass. It's easy to pass this test. Just be completely honest. The polygraph examination, the instrument is very sensitive. The polygraph examiner is very experienced. The way you get past this test is by not withholding any information. Too much information, oversharing, that's how you get past this test. It can be pretty daunting to be in a room with someone you've never met before and talk about all the mistakes you've made in your past. But that is what's required of you in this step. You must be honest in this stage. Before the polygraph actual exam starts, you're going to have the opportunity with the polygraph examiner to discuss your background and to go over your background packet in detail. And we're going to go over this. It's going to be an hour or two sometimes going through all those details just to make sure there wasn't something that you had forgot to mention in your background investigation. It's going to be easy to prepare in this portion because when you're going over all those things, you may remember something small that you had not remembered before, and here's the time you tell them. Here's the time you tell that to the background or the polygraph examiner, because the questions on the polygraph exam are all, have you withheld information about this subject? Or have you withheld information about this subject? And as you go through that background packet with the polygraph examiner, just don't withhold any information. Tell them everything. Share everything. We all have the stupid stuff that we did when we were younger and not quite as wise. We're not looking for perfect people, but we do need people who are pretty good lately and are willing to be honest about the process. Don't test a polygraph or you'll lose this great opportunity. Most of the people who failed this step are withholding information we wouldn't have cared about. It would not have disqualified them from the job of Alaska State Trooper or Wildlife Trooper. But they hold back that information because it's personally embarrassing and they miss this great opportunity because of it. Be honest. We need you to be completely honest about everything. The job of an Alaska State Trooper is very demanding. And sometimes when we're out there, we may be operating by ourselves without somebody looking over our shoulder. And if we make a mistake, we need to be able to come back, talk to our supervisor and say, hey, I made this mistake, and be completely honest about what might be an embarrassing mistake. We test your ability to do that right here. We've been testing it through the whole process, but here's the last chance to come forward with any information that maybe we hadn't talked about before. Decide today to be honest in the entire process, or please don't apply. This job wouldn't be for you if you can't do that. The next step after the polygraph is a psychological screening. The psychological screening has two parts. There's the written test, and then there's the actual interview with the psychologist. And the written test can take several hours. It's actually on a computer where there's a series of tests you go through, and then the interview with the psychologist is through the computer, a video interview. This is a professional interview, and you'll dress in professional business attire just like you did with your polygraph examination and your oral board interview. Absolutely essential you show up in suit and tie or similar attire. And that you treat it in a professional manner. The psychological screening written test, it's important I say a couple words here to prepare you for that. One of the things we've seen people do that hurts them in this process, it can cause them to fail, is they try and pretend to be someone different than who they really are. A lot of those psychological screening questions are, how do you feel about this subject or that subject? And some people will answer neutral and they really feel strongly about something. And that is not how you pass the psychological screening. The psychological screening is not trying to diagnose previously undiagnosed mental illness or something like that. Those kind of things would have come out earlier in the process. This is trying to determine suitability for this particular job class. And the way we do that is by going through these questions and having the applicant answer honestly. If you really feel strongly about this subject, then say you feel strongly. Because if you try and pretend to be someone you're not, then the test is designed to pick up those inconsistencies and ultimately fail you in this step. Don't try and test that. It's been done many, many times. This psychological screening process is solid and works well if you're honest with those questions and answer them honestly. Troopers are generally very passionate people and they feel strongly about a lot of things. If you're just saying neutral about everything, maybe you wouldn't fit very well in our organization because we need people with a lot of passion in order to do this job well. So be you. We like you. You've done well so far. Keep doing that and you'll get through that written test portion no problem. In the psychological interview, a lot of times the psychologist will be screening first of all, with information on the data they received from your psychological written test, but they might also be talking about things that you revealed in your background investigation. It's usually not more than an hour. It's a professional interview, but you need to be casual and polite in the interview, and it doesn't take that long. And once you've completed both of those, the written test and the psychological interview, then you move on to the next stage.